MC, you baking bread today?
I am getting ready. I'm letting it warm up. It's been colder, and so I'll bake bread tomorrow. But today it's a warming day, so to speak.
Oh, what's it, 75, 80 up there?
Yeah, it's close to that. I don't know exactly. I haven't been outside yet, honestly.
Not for long though, right?
Yeah. Winter's coming.
Yep. We're supposed to drop to 50 tomorrow.
I apologize. Janice, is your camera flipped?
Is it?
Yes,
Wait a
it's not
minute.
showing you anymore. There you go.
Okay. Thanks.
You're
I
welcome.
must have hit it by mistake.
Good catch, Rhonda.
Are we waiting on Brittany? Is she coming in?
Yeah, let's just give one more moment. Thanks, Steve. All right, Steve, we're set to begin.
Hey, good morning, everyone. As chair of the commission, I call this meeting of the Michigan Citizens Redistricting Commission to order. The Zoom webinar is being live streamed to Facebook and YouTube. Anyone in the public watching who would prefer to watch via a different platform than they currently are using, please visit our social media at Redistricting Michigan to find a link for either viewing on YouTube. Our live stream today includes closed captioning. We have ASL interpretation available for this meeting. If you are a member of the public watching who would like easier viewing options for the ASL interpreter on your screen, please email us at redistricting@michigan.gov and we will provide you with additional viewing options. Similarly, members of the public who would like to access services during the webinar can email us at redistricting@michigan.gov for details on how to access language translation services available for this meeting. Translation services are available in Spanish and Arabic. Please email us and we will provide you with a unique link and call-in information. This meeting is being recorded and will be available at redistrictingmichigan.org for viewing at a later date. This meeting is also being transcribed and those transcriptions will be made available and posted at redistrictingmichigan.org along with written public comments. Members of the media who may have questions before, during, or after the meeting should direct those questions to Tracy Weimer, Media Relations Director at the Department of State. Members of the media should have her contact information. For purposes of the public watching and the public record, I will turn to the Department of State staff to take note of the commissioners present. Sally, please call the roll.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, please unmute and say present when I call your name. Anthony Eid.
Present.
Brittany Klum. Cynthia Orion.
Present.
Doug Clark,
Present.
Dustin Witches,
Present.
Janice Villette,
Present.
Juanita Curry,
Present.
thanks Juanita, MC Rothhorn,
Present.
Rebecca, I don't know how to pronounce your last name yet.
Satella,
Satella,
present.
He wasn't
Thanks.
listening, obviously.
Thank you. Rhonda Lang,
Present.
Richard Weiss, sorry, Richard, did you say present? Oh, I can't hear you. Maybe
Richard,
try log.
Richard, if you're present, raise your hand. He's present, so noted.
Thanks, Richard. Steve Lett.
Present.
12 commissioners are present.
Thank you, Sally. Next, we will look at the adoption of the agenda. You should have received that yesterday. Are there any comments, changes, etc.? I have one. It appears that we two are adjourned at 1 p.m. on number 10. I may be good, but I'm not that good. I think we need to change that to 3. Doug,
Yeah, one addition to the agenda, in the old business, I'd like to review the commission members' responsibility chart. To take about a minute.
okay, I'll add that as a D, Commissioner's Responsibility Chart.
Right.
Just a note on the timing, commissioners. This meeting is set to end at 1. We have asked if the translators and others are available to stay till 1:30 if you do run over. I know it's not a lot of time and you've got a lot to get through, but that's the amount of time we have today. So that, that's the time frame.
Thank you. I thought it was a misprint. That's why I said it.
I'll move to accept the agenda as amended.
I think one moment. Okay. Was there a second?
Yeah, I second it, Steve.
Okay. All in favor acknowledged by saying aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed, the same sign. It is adopted. Next is the review and approval of the minutes from October 17, 2020, which were in our packet. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to be made to those minutes? I see a hand. MC.
I just had one. I think it's just a typo. I think it's unanimously is misspelled a couple times in I think 3 after the thank you notes from 3, 4 and on. So it's just a simple typo.
Okay, we can correct that. Any others? I have one, but any others? On updated schedule, says Chair Lett called for a motion to accept the agenda as amended. I'm assuming I meant to say schedule as amended. I would propose that change. Any other changes? If not, I would accept a motion to approve the minutes as corrected. Anybody?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, the same sign. The minutes are adopted, accepted. All right. Public comment. Sally, are there any public comments signed up?
Not today.
Okay. Then we'll go through, so anybody watching will know what we're about on public comment. Because this is a virtual meeting, members of the public have to sign up in advance to address the commission. Staff at the Department of State, when people do that, will unmute each member of the public for up to 2 minutes on a first come, first served basis. This means members of the public will be called on in the order in which they are signed up to address the commission. Those members of the public wishing to participate in public comment, please note you will have no more than 2 minutes to address the commission. You can also submit your thoughts to the commission and the public by emailing at redistricting@michigan.gov. The Department of State will provide you your written thoughts to the commission, and they do that, and we do read them. By indicating in that email that you would like to submit your written comments as public comment, it will be included in the online meeting archive for the commission. Public comment sign-up links are also posted at Redistricting Michigan social media pages on Facebook and Twitter at Redistricting MI. Now, I would like to recognize Sally Marsh, Michigan Department of State Director of Special Projects, who will call on members of the public to address the commission. Ignore that, there aren't any. However, if there were, this would be where you would be called on. We are now up to the oath of office. We have a new member, Rebecca Satella, and she will be sworn in. I will turn this over now to Mike Brady, I hope. Mike, are you here?
I am.
Will you administer the oath to Rebecca, please?
I'd be happy to. Good to see all of you commissioners and welcome Ms. Satella. Ms. Satella, I will administer the oath of office to you. In order to administer this oath remotely, I will ask you to unmute your microphone, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. The oath is also on your screen.
Mhm.
I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of the Commission
of the office of
of the
the
office of Commissioner
of the office of the Commissioner
of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission,
of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Commissioner Satella.
Thank you.
Chair, I turn it back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Rebecca, you can use whatever names you like to address the commissioners with. We've had a discussion in the past regarding whether it would be Mr. Lett or Steve or Commissioner Lett or whoever. Use whatever you like. I will call you Rebecca unless you have something that you would rather be called by. And my view is People, can we work on getting everybody back on screen?
You might just,
To the view and then gallery.
There we go. Thank you. Now, since you're new, and I will explain that you really are not in the hot seat. There have been 2 commissioners prior to you, so I'm assuming that you're going to stick, hopefully. But tell us a little bit about yourself and the public that are watching. Obviously, we've already introduced you, Rebecca Satella, and tell us a little bit about where you're from, life history. Give us an introduction.
So I was born and raised in Michigan, lived here my entire life. I live in the Canton area right now. I grew up in Dearborn. I'm an attorney by profession. I've been practicing law for over 20 years at this point. My primary focus is to be an in-house attorney. So I work for corporations, primarily in the tech industry. I have 4 children. They're 2 sets of twins, and I live with my husband in Canton.
What do you do in your spare time besides take care of 4 twins?
I have no spare time.
Are you fully employed as an attorney now?
Well, this was sort of an odd situation because I received the call about receiving the place on the commission, which I was super excited about. And I was debating what to do about my full-time job. And then in the last week, the company I was working for was acquired and they did a round of layoffs. And so now I am now laid off. So it actually all sort of worked out quite nicely because now I'm no longer working full-time as an attorney. So I will have time to dedicate to this. So it worked out quite nicely.
Oh, well, don't say that yet. I'm also an attorney, and now I've got someone else that I can ask questions to.
That's good, though.
When you applied, did you have a specific reason that you wanted to be on this commission?
I just think it's a really interesting concept. And I thought it was something that if I was able to get on the commission, I would want to do, to have a hand in that, because it is really historic in the state of Michigan for this to be in the control of the people instead of being in the control of politicians.
Okay. I would also like at this time, since we are introducing Rebecca to everybody, that we go around and introduce ourselves. And since she doesn't, I don't know if she particularly knows us. So I was going to say, when I was looking at the full gallery view, which keeps getting changed, Rhonda, you were next to me. Will you start us off?
Caught me off guard. Sure. My name is Rhonda. Nice to meet you. I am from Reed City, which is a small town up north. I'm a real estate broker. I am a United States Navy veteran. In my spare time, I like to do outside stuff, gardening, hunting, you name it, as long as it's outside and the sun is shining. Going back to what brought me here, it was something that I didn't know a lot about, and I read a little bit. I filled out the application. I'm here. I'm learning so much, and I'm actually really enjoying it. The work that we're doing, I feel good about. So that's it for me.
Okay. Doug.
Yeah, my name's Doug Clark, and I live in Rochester Hills, and I currently am retired. I previously worked for General Motors, Electronic Data Systems, and Hewlett Packard in various management positions throughout the years. And my hobbies, generally golf and travel is what I generally do, although the travel's been cut off this year because of the virus situation. So it's good to have you with us, Rebecca.
Thank you, Doug. Dustin.
Hello, my name's Dustin Witches. I currently live in Ypsilanti. I'm from the Howell area. Let's see. I'm currently pursuing a master's degree in math from Eastern Michigan University with the hopes of potentially moving forward for a PhD if I feel like it and I'm not too burnt out. I work for Thomson Reuters and for a payroll company, kind of like ADP. And then I also, the main reason for me joining the commission or applying to be on the commission was to just put it in citizens' hands as opposed to politicians as well. Like Rebecca said, it's the most important thing for me.
Aaron.
Hello, Rebecca. My name is Erin Wagner. I live in Charlotte, Michigan. I was pursuing a medical degree and quit to raise 6 kids, 2 of which are special needs and adults already. And I put my name in the hat, never thinking for a second I'd be drawn, and surprise, surprise, here I am. So I'm looking forward to this experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia.
Hi, Rebecca. I'm Cynthia Orion. I currently live in Battle Creek. We moved here about a year ago. And before that, I lived in Mattawan, which is on the other side of Kalamazoo, so Southwest Michigan. I raised 3 children, which are now college age. I'm a college student myself, online. I'm pursuing a degree in administrative assistance and office management. And exciting news, I just won an international business competition. So I'm very excited about that this week. What else about me? I like to, I guess, garden. I like to travel, but like Doug, I have not done any traveling recently. And I really enjoy other cultures and languages. And I was very shocked to be one of the people on the commission as well. When I applied, I knew there would be a lot of people and knew it was a long shot, but I'm very excited to be here and work with all of these commissioners, including you.
Well, now let's not just jump over this winning this competition. What's that about?
So it's called CAPSIM. It's a business simulation. You run a multi-million-dollar company against other people running their companies for 8 rounds, which represents 8 years. And whoever has the most points at the end wins. And I won. And apparently there are about 3,000 applicants from universities around the world. So I was very excited.
What was your business?
Very surprised.
What was your business?
It makes high-tech and low-tech sensors is there.
Okay. MC.
Congratulations, Cynthia. I think I speak for all of us, but yeah, congratulations. Yeah, my name is MC. I live in Lansing, Michigan. I was born and raised in Ann Arbor, and I work with the MSU Student Housing Cooperative. It's a co-op, and I work with the finances there. I have, with my wife, 2 daughters. One is in college, one is in high school, almost as a junior this year. And yeah, I kind of signed up for this thinking like it was going to be like jury duty. And I've never actually been on jury duty. And I feel like I keep wanting to participate in democracy. And working in a cooperative, we're democratically run. And so I guess what I mean is I'm learning a lot because of where I work about democracy. And this is just the deepest dive the best jury duty I've ever had. And I know what I know about myself is that I do well. I tend to grow with other people. So I really appreciate the dialogue and the way this is, yeah, our colleagues here are really great. And it's nice to have you here, Rebecca.
Thank you. Richard. We've got an issue with you. We can't hear you. Well, let's move on and hopefully we can get you corrected. Juanita.
Hi, Rebecca. It's good that you're joining us. I am Juanita Curry. I am a native of Detroit, Michigan. I attended Wayne State in 1988. Studied public relations and journalism. Also, I am a specialized foster parent that I did for over 23 years. I gave that back to them, and mother of two natural children, a daughter that just passed about 2 weeks ago, and a son, and plus I have other children that I adopted. So congratulations again. It's good that you're with us.
Well, thank you, Juanita, and condolences from us, all of us on the commission to the loss of your daughter.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Be in our prayers, certainly.
Thank you.
Anthony.
Hi, Rebecca. It's great to have you aboard. My name is Anthony Eade. I'm 28 years old from Orchard Lake, Michigan. I'm a first-generation American. My mom is Chaldean, which means she's from Iraq, and my dad's Lebanese. They came here when they were about 18 years old, and family's been here ever since. Prior to this, let's see, I got two bachelor's degrees, one in biology and one from psychology. And then I went on to get a master's degree in medical science. And my ultimate goal is to become a physician. In my free time, I like to volunteer. I like to work out. I love sports, especially Detroit sports. Hopefully none of you saw that Lions game this weekend. We need to make some changes on that team. And I'm also kind of a nerd. I like video games and technology and fantasy football and stuff like that. I've always kind of been really big into advocacy. I was the student body president of my university, and I thought joining this commission would be a great way to kind of take the next step in that road. It's important for citizens to give back, and it's a great group of people we have here. So, you know, we're happy to have you, and you're gonna make a great addition to the team.
Thank you, Anthony. Janice.
Hi, welcome, Rebecca. My name is Janice. I live in Highland Township. I'm a retired banker. I have 2 children, 4 grandchildren, and I like to travel.
That's it?
That's it. That's me in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you. Brittany. Glad to see you here.
I know, I was having the worst tech issues. Hi, Rebecca, glad to have you. I assume that we're giving a short intro about ourselves. So my name is Brittany Klum. Who I love my dog Hendrix. I love spending time with family and my boyfriend, culture. I recently chopped all of my hair off, so I'm falling in love with my head shape and face shape again. I am very happy to have you. And are there any other particulars that we're supposed to share?
Whatever you want.
Oh, I think being on this commission is a wonderful opportunity. I always enjoy the meetings, and every time I am learning something new. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess that leaves me. My name's Steve Lett, and I currently live in Interlochen, Michigan. I was born and raised in Lansing, Michigan, and likewise practiced law there for about 5 years. So I'm glad to have another attorney on board to take up the slack. I applied for the commission and did not put down a reason why I applied, because that wasn't one of the things you really had to do to get on, since they were going to pick your name randomly. But I really applied because I thought citizens should be doing this and not politicians. And so I think we're working well together so far, and I think that we're going to continue to do that. So I thank everybody for introducing ourselves to Rebecca, and Rebecca introducing herself to us. and anybody that may be watching that hasn't watched before. Up for old business now is Department of State to bring us an update on administrative items. Who, I assume Sally's going to do that, but who's going to do it?
Steve, MC has his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, MC.
It's okay. I think Richard may be on the phone. He may be able to introduce himself.
Well, let's see. Give it a try, Richard.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
We can, loud and clear.
Yeah, I can hear myself, but I can't talk to the thing here. Yes, congratulations, Rebecca. I wanted to just tell you that I worked for General Motors, worked there 30 years, retired, had left there at 48. And then to take up my spare time, I got into making wine with a friend of mine. And I do kind of handyman work, kind of keeps me busy fixing things. So other than that, not too much else going on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Glad to have you verbally as well as by video. All right, back to the old business and the MDOS update. Sally, since you flipped on with your video, I take it you're it.
Hello. I guess it's afternoon now. Good afternoon, commissioners. So just a couple of quick things. I'll be brief. Few updates from the last meeting. So and I'm sorry if I have any feedback, just let me know and I can start again. Just a brief reminder to the public watching that documents discussed in this meeting are available at redistrictingmichigan.org. So when you hear commissioners say things like, it was emailed to me, stuff like that, you can see that on the website right now. So just go to redistrictingmichigan.org. Update on computers and phones. Phones are being ordered. If you haven't provided your shipping address to Sarah Reinhardt yet, please do that before the end of the day today so we can make sure those get in the mail to you. Computers, there is a chart that was distributed detailing the computers that are available in our state of Michigan system. I asked the MDOS, the Department of State employee who's responsible for doing sort of tech purchasing and distribution for our office, what his recommendations would be. And so the highlighted computer on that document, that laptop, is the one that he recommended. So unless we hear otherwise from all of you, we'll proceed with getting that computer for all of you and sort of going through the procurement process there and move forward with that. So you'll have a state computer and then you'll be able to hook up your state email to the state computer and be able to access documents that way.
Well, that will be nice.
Yeah, it will be nice for everyone, I think.
Before you proceed, let me ask a question. Did everybody get that piece of paper or email? Does anybody have
I am locked out, so I haven't been able to access it. I am furiously trying to get back in, so I haven't been. I'm asking someone to send it to me now.
Okay. Other than Brittany, does anyone have a computer other than the one that was highlighted that they are thinking about? Everybody's satisfied with the highlighted one? Other than
one quick question. These are all laptops, are they not?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm satisfied with it. Yep.
Brittany, you can let Sally know once you get that chart. Other than that, Sally, you're good to go with what was highlighted.
Great, thank you. So moving on to HR and payment, we're getting very close. The Legislative Council has started the process with Kelly Services. Kelly Services has confirmed that for doing your payroll, which they're able to do, there'll be a 1.26% markup. And so that's reflected in the budget document that was circulated and is also posted online. We're working on finalizing the paperwork. It should be moving forward within the next several days. They've been very responsive. And so we're just trying to make sure all of the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And then we should be able to start actually, distributing your payroll. So more to come there. I'm sure by the next meeting, I will have a much more robust update. It might even be real at that point. So so I appreciate your patience, but it is moving forward. And like I said, everybody's been moving forward well in these past 2 weeks to make it happen. The budget document, like I said, distributed sort of an updated version so you can see what, you know, the implications of what you all voted on and decided on last week. Again, it's just sort of meant as a helpful guide for all of you. So let me or Mike Brady know if you have any questions about that. One thing that was asked about last week was reimbursement standards. So in the agenda, which again for the public is available online, there's a link to the various documents detailing reimbursement standards for the state of Michigan. And so all of that information is there for all of you to peruse. You'll see it's kind of broken out into a couple of different categories of guidelines, which is why I just sent you the link instead of the all of those various documents. And then thank you notes have been mailed. So happy to report that. And then that is all that I have for the Department of State update. I wasn't sure, Doug, if this might be a moment where you might want to just provide a brief update on the commission members' responsibility chart, but I'm happy to take any questions you all might have.
Let me, before we get to Doug, are there any questions on the budget sheet? It's simply a document that shows kind of where we're going. Certainly isn't audited, but it gives us an idea of what we've been doing. Any questions? Okay, Sally. Anything else? Okay.
All set.
All right. ED candidates. Who's going to do that? Committee.
I'll excuse me. I'll lead this discussion. So the advisory committee for the executive director search met this morning at 9 a.m. Just to remind the public, our job was to come up with recommendations for the rest of this commission and who we should move forward with in the process and bring in for interview. We had presentations. From that 43 number, we reduced it to 7 that we think should be brought into interview. The methodology to do this was we created a rank list using the applicants' resumes, their cover letter or personal statements, and their answers to the questionnaire form that was attached to the application. We did this because we thought it was the best way to make an unbiased assessment of all of the many applicants that applied. After we did this, we took those rankings and used it as a starting point to further the discussion on each candidate. And you know, it's funny, we actually had pretty much all of the same top ranking people, which made the process go rather smoothly. So like I said, out of the 43, we've came up with 7 names that we would like to recommend. We decided on 7 because we wanted to leave a little bit of room in case the rest of you wanted to add somebody else that us 3 may not have felt strongly about. So I'm gonna go ahead and read those 7 people right now. We have Jeanette Phillips, Amna Shebold, Cheryl Mitchell, Brandon Bryce, Suzanne Courtright Hammersmith, Vicky DeVold, and James Lancaster. Those 7 are who we recommend we bring forward. We have a list of reasonings. If the rest of you would like to hear them, we could go through one at a time. I'm not sure if the rest of the commission has had a chance to review the rest of the, all 43 of the applicants. But if you have and would like to add somebody, or if you think there's somebody that we have not considered and would like to speak about them, now would be the time.
Anthony, can you give us just a brief capsule of each person? You know, what kind of what their education, what their job, you know, 2 or 3 things.
Sure. So first we have, and I would recommend that, you know, I hope everyone's had a chance to read the applications, but if you have not yet, I would recommend pulling these 7 up, just so all of you can get a chance to look at them as well. Let's start with Jeanette Phillips. So the whole committee was in agreement that Jeanette would be a great candidate. She has been an executive director before of the Michigan Council of Women in Technology Foundation. She was also the interim director for the Mercy Education Project. She had a good personal statement that stated exactly why she wanted to be on this commission and what she should bring to the table. Rhonda or Dustin, do you have anything more to add about Janet Phillips?
I think as far as she goes, her education was exemplary. Work history. I don't know. I just felt that she was qualified based off from work history. From her education standpoint, she has good education. Her letter that she sent on why she wanted to be a part of it, I enjoyed reading that and thought it was very descriptive, and thought she would be a good one to at least interview and get a little more information from her.
Yeah, I'm in complete concurrence here as well. And her resume was extremely detailed, along with all of her questions that were asked. So I do feel very strongly about Jeanette as well.
Okay. Next.
Next up, we have Amna Shabold. Amna, A-M-N-A Shabold, S-E-I-B-O-L-D. Amna was the former director of the Department of Pathology at Mercy Health. She also served as a bipartisan mayor, or an independent mayor, unpartisan, I guess would be the correct term. She was the mayor of East Grand Rapids and served 2 terms doing that. She was the city commissioner of East Grand Rapids and the planning commissioner of East Grand Rapids before that. She also serves on various boards. Notably, she's a board of trustee member for Ferris State University. She made a pretty big note that she was a nonpartisan mayor of her community for 8 years, and us being a bipartisan commission might want to consider that. Rhonda, Dustin, anything to add?
Pretty much the same thing. One of the things that stood out with me, because, you know, we're trying to make it public perception, and I think is also a big thing with this commission, the transparency. And I think with her being an independent, so to say, a nonpartisan, and showing that in her letter that she has worked across the aisles with, you know, Republicans, Democrats, and independents both, I think she would probably have the same mindset as what we do as a commission about working together. And that's important. Like I said, when I was looking at the resumes, I was not only just looking at their qualifications and their schooling or the jobs that they've done. I was also looking at who could we get for public perception. Also, who would the public trust? I've seen emails about people with concern on how are we going to pick somebody that's not partisan? How are we? So I kept those things in my mind when going through these, and that is why hers stuck out to me.
Okay, next.
Dustin, do you have anything?
No, you two hit it on the head for that one.
Okay. Next up, we have Dr. Cheryl Mitchell. Again, that's Dr. Cheryl Mitchell, if y'all want to pull up her resume. She has a doctorate in business administration from Lawrence Tech University. She has great academic credentials and has done quite a bit of government work. She was a city administrator for Lathrop Village. Before that, she was a city manager for Albion. And she has acted as a senior analyst and acting chief of staff for the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. So we thought her credentials were pretty exemplary. She had a very detailed personal statement where she wrote why she wants to be a part of this commission in particular, and the skills that she could bring to it. And she also answered the questionnaire questions adequately.
Yeah, I agree with Anthony here. Cheryl Mitchell was also one of my tops based off of education and work history alone. We had questions in regards to transparency and public perception in regards to hiring individuals who may have worked in some sort of political setting, whether it's state or city or town. However, I feel that she would be able to use her skill sets with managing quite well and efficiently as an executive director for our commission here as well.
The only thing I would like to add on hers is she also has experience with budget preparation, execution, oversight, and reporting, which will be important for the commission.
Okay. Next up, we have Brandon Bryce. More so than any other applicant, we all agreed that Brandon's application was just a lot more personable than everyone else's. I think Dustin said while he was reading it, it felt like this individual was in the room while we were reading his application. So he seems like he'd be a very easy guy to work with. As far as his education goes, he has a master's of business administration from Detroit Mercy and a master's of science from Rutgers. Another thing that kind of made his application stand out was the different diversity of jobs that he's had. He's worked for the Boy Scouts of America. He's worked for the Veterans Association, the governor's office in New Jersey, and even for World Wrestling Entertainment. So we thought that was a very interesting set of jobs to go along with how personable his application was.
I have nothing to add.
The only thing I could add that might be a con, like I said, I'm the one that keeps public perception, is the fact that he did work for a Governor Christie, who is a Republican governor. I'm looking at that was a 3-year stint. So the last time was 2012. So just kind of give everybody an idea of what I did. I looked at our Constitution, and even though it doesn't relate to the applicants, we couldn't hold any public office or anything for 6 years. Couldn't be a lobbyist, things like that. So I tried to keep that in mind when picking, so I wasn't getting too picky about any political affiliation. So with it being the amount of time that it was, I didn't think he would be as much of a what's the word, where people might think that he might be biased. But that's up for perception too. So just wanted to throw that out there. When looking at it, I did take that into consideration also.
Was on mute. Next up, we have Suzanne Courtright Hammersmith. This individual stood out because she's been an executive director for two different organizations, the Leanaway United Way, a volunteer center in Adrian, Michigan, and the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation of Northwest Ohio. So she's done the job before. She knows how to do it. As far as her education goes, she has a master's in nonprofit management and other graduate studies work. Yeah, that's about all I got for her. Rhonda, you had a lot about this individual.
Yes. She was actually one of my top picks, and she was one of the top picks because of her experience in the role as executive director. I couldn't find any really governmental office affiliation, so I think that's good as again, in that aspect. She had some really good letters of recommendation from former employers, so that was a plus. And I think just the amount of experience she has working in every area. She has experience with budgeting. She's got experience with the Open Meetings Act. I believe, I'm trying not to get them mixed up. I think she had experience with FOIA. Without reading through it all again, but she kind of fit all of the bills of what we were looking for when we put out the ad for the executive director, in my opinion.
Yeah, same. She was actually my number one pick out of the bunch. So for those same exact reasons.
Okay, next.
Okay, next up we have, let's pull it up here. We have James Lancaster. So we thought about interviewing James. We think it's a good idea to interview James because his resume is, pretty impressive. He's a lawyer, went to a top law school. Before that, he was a former city council member and mayor pro temp for, check which city?
DeWitt.
DeWitt, yes. Exactly. Someone's looked at these. That's good. So we thought his credentials were pretty good. He also was the chief legal counsel for Voters Not Politics, Voters Not Politicians, which created the language for the constitutional amendment that the state of Michigan passed in 2018 that created this commission. However, there were also some reservations about this, that it could possibly create a conflict of interest. So I think if we do interview this person, that's definitely a question that we will have to ask them. We're probably going to have to ask him tough questions about, since he's been a part of the process of this commission since the beginning, how might that bias him in his decision-making process and, his obligation in working, essentially working for us.
I was the one that had some concern on that. I think the work that they did to get us here is great. But being so involved, writing the language, again, I know I keep going back to public perception, and I know we're not going to make the entire public happy, regardless of what, but public perception would be, in my mind, a big part of things too. And I just feel like with him being so involved in the process with the language of our now constitutional amendment, how would the public perceive that somebody that had such a hand in it is now working directly with the independent commission? Would they see it as we're truly being independent, or are we working for politicians, not, or excuse me, not politicians, voters, not politicians as the group? Another factor to take into consideration with his is formal executive director position. We now have 2 lawyers on our commission, so I don't know a lot about lawyers' roles, so you would be able to educate me better, but are lawyers' roles the same as what an executive director would have to do? Is there the same amount of experience as what somebody who's actually done the job of executive director would have? That would be a question that I would have.
You're asking the lawyers on here now?
I'm open for any input from you, absolutely.
Is he
a team effort?
Is he also applying for the general counsel position? Because I'm surprised he would be applying for the executive director over the general counsel position.
That I do not know, but that was mentioned in our committee meeting that maybe he would be more suitable to apply for that position, since he knows, since he had a hand in writing it, since he knows the constitutional amendment more than the executive director position.
We have not gotten the candidate resumes for the general counsel commission yet. So we don't know if he's applied or not. That closes on November 13th, I believe.
Okay.
Dustin, anything to add?
Whoops. No, not really. The reservations that we all had and are, the same. We all have the same feelings about it. I think that it could potentially be a good thing that we have someone that helped write the language, because he clearly wanted this commission to happen and pass. But that's my own bias, I suppose. I do understand all sides here, and Rhonda did make up a good point that in the eyes of public perception, would this, skew what citizens in Michigan would think? So that's it.
And I agree. And I think I made a comment, but I was muted at one time. The executive director, whoever it is, does not have a vote. Number 7.
Okay, our final one that we'd like to recommend is Vicky Duvold. Rhonda, would you like to speak about Vicky? I think your notes were a little bit more complete than mine for her.
Actually, I think Dustin's were more complete. Let me flip through mine.
Don't say that, because I can't find them right now.
Well, there were a lot of applications for us to go through, but generally speaking, Vicky scored pretty high on all of our metrics. While she doesn't have executive director experience like some of the other candidates that we spoke about earlier, we do think she's still qualified. She has a master's of education, and she's had a few other areas, being the assistant director and administrator for different educational services, as well as a nursing home. And I think something else that stood out was her cover letter. It said why she thinks her skills in particular would be good for this commission. She specifically referenced using technology to help us along.
There was another one too, where she had put that she has experience doing advocacy and resources for families throughout the community. So as far as outreach, somebody that's got experience working in an outreach program, I think would help us. I also believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm flipping through again real quick, that she had financial experience as far as budgeting. And give me just a moment here. And one thing that stuck out to me is she's worked in a lot of medical type facilities in here. And as somebody that's worked in the medical field, I know that one thing that they pound into your head is attention to detail, attention to detail. And I think somebody who's going to hold the executive director position really should be very detail oriented in the work that they do. Going through some of the other resumes, I saw some where at first I thought they might be great. And then when I looked at cover letters and things, I saw details where they had applied for us, but not removed previous people that they had applied for. So it was one of those things where it was like, okay, attention to detail means a lot in this position, especially when you're going to have so many different areas that you're taking care of.
Okay, that's all 7, correct? That you are bringing as kind of a breakdown of where you think we ought to go? Okay. Brittany, would you take over and see if there's any discussion that people would like to have?
Yeah, Doug, jump right in.
Yeah, Anthony and Dustin and Rhonda, can we get who you felt was the number 1 candidate for each one of you?
Like this. Yep.
My number 1 candidate was Suzanne Courtright, Hammersmith.
Okay.
That was my number 1 pick as well. Suzanne Courtright Hammersmith.
And Anthony?
So I had 3 that were tied at the top for me, and that was Amna Shabold, Janet Phillips, and James Lancaster.
Okay, thank you.
But I think all 3 of us would feel pretty comfortable with any of these 7 that we've been talking about, being our executive director.
MC?
I'm imagining the interviews. I think what we're trying to do is essentially decide who we're going to interview. And I'm imagining that each interview is at least half an hour up to an hour. And so I'm imagining I wonder if we're trying to, so I'm thinking about criteria, like the criteria that you use to whittle them down to the 7. And I'm trying to figure out how we might, as a commission out with all 13 of us, agree on some ways that we could, like the criteria that we want to see. So after we interview, so we can make a quick decision. Not that it should be quick. I apologize. I didn't mean to use that term, but I think how we use this time now, I'm imagining 7 hours, for example, could be really long. Useful for sure. But I'm wondering if we want to try to come up with criteria, if we want to try to pare it down. How do we want to use this time now? That's what I'm asking myself.
Yeah, I'd like to see it whittled down to maybe 3 people.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I was thinking 4, yeah, same.
Initially, when we first met, our very first meeting, we discussed that, and it was thrown around 5 to 10, basically. It was recommended 5 and then like 8 and 10. The reason we kind of looked at that 6 to 8 right now is that's 20% of the resumes, and our decisions are not final. We just wanted to present to you, the whole commission, who we thought the top ones were, and figured it would be whittled down through the commission as a whole, obviously. These were just the ones that we felt, in our opinion, were the top pick out of the ones we received. Anybody that you wanted to exclude or include, that's great. I think we could get it whittled down that way if everybody's had a chance to look at it.
Yeah, my opinion is that the 3 of you have had the most time invested in understanding what we need and the qualifications of these people. And I would be more than comfortable to go on the recommendation of 3 to 4 people from the 3 of you.
Rebecca, did you have something to add? Let's not lose sight of what Doug just said, but I want to make sure.
No, I agree with what Doug just said, but I mean, I personally would be uncomfortable with moving forward with James. because of his involvement with Voters Not Politicians, especially in such a key role as an executive director role. I'm just concerned that that would appear that we're letting a political group control the direction of the committee. So to me, that would concern me greatly.
I agree with what you said, Rebecca. I also am standing in agreement with Doug. I think Rhonda, that is excellent insight how the committee decided that they were going to come with choices for us. But I do think that in that, even when I was listening to the feedback that you had for each candidate, there are some that you all felt more strongly about, and so I think it would be better to rely, and we're still making a decision, but rely on, your initial response and thoughts that the committee had, and then we can just take it from there rather than have an abundance, of options. So I think we stick with like the 4 that were like the highlights for you all. You had a gut reaction and it matched on paper.
Going off that, Brittany, then I would like to say that I went through these resumes probably 5 times.
I know you did, right?
I did. I went through them the night before our first meeting, the night after the same night as our first meeting, and a few times yesterday again. And I have to say, as far as the candidates go, if we're looking at a number 1 pick, in my opinion, Suzanne Courtright, Hammersmith. When I first went through the resumes, I had it at 14 that I thought were potentially good. Upon reviewing them over and over again, she's the one that stayed at the top of my list.
Okay.
So if we are recommending trying to narrow it down, I would definitely say that she is one that needs to be interviewed further.
Okay. Would everyone else on the committee, do you agree with that?
No. I have not had an opportunity to go back and look at these 7 picks that they come up with. I don't disagree with any of them necessarily.
Yeah,
but I
don't have the information.
I went through all of the resumes when they were given to us, and then certainly am more than willing, in fact, accept that these are the top 7. But I certainly want to go back and take another look at them, and before I'm comfortable making a decision as to who should or shouldn't be interviewed. So maybe others of you have had an opportunity to review these as they're going. You read a lot faster than I do. So I would personally want to have, I think we meet in a couple of days, have at least an opportunity to go back and take another peek at these. I don't know if Rebecca has had these to review or not.
Yeah, I would.
Sorry, I'm not saying that I disagree with any of them. I just want to be able.
No, yeah.
No, I think that makes sense to take more time and look over now that we've got it narrowed down from a very large list, which I did actually receive a few days ago. But we're moving from a very large group to a group of 7. I think it makes sense for us to all kind of look at that group of 7 and then maybe reconvene on that point and decide to narrow down if we decide to do that.
That sounds okay with me, MC.
And then I would ask each, as the committee, created a list, what I'm asking each of us to do is when we do get together and try to figure out who we're going to interview, have the 1 or 2 pieces, like what's the most important criteria for you as a commissioner? And what I'm asking is, I think if we have 13 different criteria, that's valuable. But if we each choose 1, like the most valuable one, and if we have 2 or 3 that we align on, we might come to consensus quicker or have a decision. And so, yeah, while we're waiting, just decide what's the number 1 attribute or quality or characteristic, right, for the executive director. And so we might understand what we want to do, how we vote.
Anthony.
So I hear what everyone's saying, but at the same time, I think according to our schedule and our upcoming meeting schedule, I think we have to choose who we want to interview today at this meeting in order to stay on that schedule. And as far as narrowing it down even further, I mean, I can probably get it down to 5, but I don't think I can go lower than 5. And I'd like to interview at least, 5 of these people, but I think I can get it down to 5. And I think there were 5 that the rest of the committee also kind of felt a little stronger about as well, with their input, of course. But I do think this is kind of something we need to decide, here at this meeting, who we want to bring in for interview.
Guys, I don't have the agenda for the upcoming meetings, but was the next meeting, and maybe Sally, if she's here, can help me, was the next meeting when we were supposed to actually start interviewing?
That's correct.
Okay.
The 19th.
Yeah, so
I agree with Anthony on this. I'm sorry, Sally.
no worries. I was just going to clarify that the plan was to have those interviews be on the 19th, but you all are an independent body and you're able to adjust that schedule if needed. So you could, delay, maybe delay isn't the word, but you could choose to have an additional conversation next week. Instead of deciding today, you could decide next week, and then we would have to just rework the schedule a little bit to have probably on December 3rd, have those interviews instead of on the 19th.
I don't know, I can't speak for everyone else, but I feel like Steve and Rebecca can't be the only 2 people that might need more time with the 7. I'm not sure how everyone else feels about it offsetting the schedule though. And I, by no means speak for the group.
When is when are the applications due for general counsel deadline?
I believe that's the 13th, Steve.
So the 19th, we could look at those also.
We haven't had a commission meeting yet.
Well, by that,
I mean, a committee meeting yet on that, yeah.
right, but on the 19th, at least we would have the applications we could at least take a peek at.
Yeah, as soon as they're distributed to us.
Right.
Yeah, the committee meets, I think, a week from Friday. And then the 3 of us will go through those applications.
Okay.
So, Anthony, just to clarify, are you proposing we eliminate this list down to 5 today and then move forward with those 5 for interviews next week, and then Steve and I and anyone else who's interested can sort of brush up on their resumes in the meantime? Is that sort of what you were thinking when you talked about narrowing it down to 5?
Yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable with 7, but if we, I think MC commented earlier that 7 interviews might be a lot to conduct, especially when we have also to interview for the other 2 positions that we have out. I heard multiple people say they were uncomfortable with James Lancaster. And so if you take him out, that leaves 6. And then I think of those 6, if we were to eliminate 1 more, and obviously Rhonda and Dustin can speak to this as well, but I think if we were to eliminate 1 more, at least for me, that person would probably be Vicky Duvald, which leaves us with 5. And I would be comfortable interviewing those 5, or having those 5 come to, interview before us. But I again, I do kind of think that's something we should do today. I think delaying this process might do more harm than good at this point.
Yeah, I could see that. I think if you all are able to be discriminating and not feel rushed, but these are your earnest eliminations, that makes sense. If it feels forced, then unfortunately, I kind of will side with Steve and Rebecca in terms of having more time. Richard?
Yeah, I just want to jump in real quick. Obviously, I looked through the list myself, and out of the list at the committee, which you did a nice job, all 3 of you, 6 of the candidates that you picked, I have marks on. 2, I have little high marks. And the 1 individual, Mr. Lancaster, I wasn't he didn't make my list. So I guess I could be happy with at least 6, maybe, and down to 5, what Anthony said. Also, Anthony, I'd like to know your little number system you used. It sounded like it worked really good. So for rating the candidates. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Rhonda.
Richard, can I ask which 6 you picked just for your input?
Sure. I had Jeanette Phillips, Ami Sebald, Cheryl Mitchell, Bryce, Hammerschmidt, and DeVold, Vicky. Those were the 6 that I actually had picked. And of course, I went with the 7 that you had and put Mr. Lancaster down there. So what I read, I kind of went with a little different criteria, I guess, if you want to call it that. But those 6 are the ones that I had. I have some more, but I'm happy with them. They all look real good. So, all right, thanks.
Cynthia.
I just wanted to say those 6 were also in my top, so I would feel comfortable going with that list or whittling it down to 5, either way.
MC agrees.
Well, I will say I'm pretty happy that even people that were not on the advisory committee came to pretty much the same conclusion that we did. That's already a pretty good sign that we're at least narrowing it down to the most qualified individuals. So I guess the question from here is, do we want to move forward with interviewing, or do we want to take more time to review? And I personally would be in favor of moving forward to interviewing either 5 or 6 people.
Rhonda, sorry, I was in thought.
No, that's fine, Brittany. I just don't want anybody on the committee to feel rushed because this is a group decision. I do think time is kind of on the essence of us because we need to get our main players in place and start getting the ball rolling, because come after the first of the year, we're going to have a lot of heavy duty work on our hands. So that's my concern. You want to be able to get them interviewed, hired, and in position and comfortable before the real heavy duty work starts, in my opinion. But again, I don't want, if somebody's not comfortable, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of on the fence. I understand completely what Steve's saying now that it's been narrowed down, because there were a lot of people. So I don't know, maybe we should take a vote on it, how the commission as a whole feels about whether it be moving on and narrowing it down to 5 or 6 for the interview process, or withholding and waiting another week and doing it at the next meeting. I think maybe we should vote on that to kind of see. It doesn't even have to be just a general show of hands, to kind of see where we're standing as a whole for the group.
Steve.
Having listened to everybody and thinking back on 30 years of experience, the reason that we choose to have subcommittees to do this type of work for us is that we trust that they will in fact do a good job, and clearly they have done a good job. So any reservation that I have will be my own personal reservation, and I will be able to take care of that with my own review. So I certainly am not opposed to moving forward, figuring out who you want to interview. Pursuant to the schedule, we've got 3 hours, 9 to noon on the 19th to interview the finalists. Realistically, you're going to have about, well, if you had 6 finalists, obviously you'd have a half hour each, which is realistically about what you're going to have by the time you interview somebody and then chat a little bit afterwards and then interview the next one. So keeping that in mind, I'll turn it back over to Brittany.
So it sounds like we are putting maybe our personal reservations aside as Steve said if there are any, to do some reviewing, and we are agreeing to put our trust in the committee. Because ultimately it's up to them. Their endurance for how many people they want to interview. And Anthony has said he's fine, and the committee has agreed with that. So it sounds like we are moving forward with interviewing the 5. Can we name the 5 candidates just again?
But do we want to do 5 or 6?
Come on, Anthony.
I heard 6. I mean, if it's 6, this is pretty easy because some people were uncomfortable with Mr. Lancaster. So
Okay.
If we whittle it down to 5, there might be some discussion on who to eliminate or not.
Rebecca is thinking and looks like she's about to say something.
I was going to say I don't have a preference one way or another. If the committee wants to recommend 6, we'll just be efficient in our interviews and we can interview 6. So, so whatever the consensus is on your part.
I think 6 is fine. I don't think we have to go back and forth between 5 or 6. If you want 6, we can, it's a well-rounded group and we can go with 6.
Well, let me take it back. Okay, first off, I would entertain a motion that the 6 interviewees would not include Mr. Lancaster.
I second it.
Somebody's got to make the motion. I don't want to.
Okay.
I didn't want to make the motion either. That's why I didn't say anything.
We already determined that. I don't know if it needs a motion, but I think I think we're all in agreement with it already.
All right, everybody raise their hand if they don't want Jim Lancaster. I'm abstaining. And I'm abstaining because I know him personally, so I'm abstaining. Okay, so that leaves us with 6. We need to make contact with them. Sally, is that something the department's going to do?
Yes, I think if the commission were to formally vote to interview these 6 candidates, then the Department of State could schedule those interviews for your next meeting.
And is that going to be virtual? Is that going to be in person? How are we going to do that?
It would be virtual.
Okay. All right, I'd entertain a motion to interview the 6 finalists as presented by the committee. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I hear a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Unanimously, we will interview the 6. And just so it's clear on the record, Anthony, will you please read their names one more time?
Yes, I'll go in alphabetical order. We have Brandon Bryce, Vicky Duvold, Suzanne Courtright Hammersmith, Cheryl Mitchell, Amna Shabold, and Janet Phillips.
Okay, thank you. And I thank the committee. That's a lot of hard work, and that
yes,
a lot of applications and CVs and letters to go through and look and weigh and whittle down to a group that once they get the job will wonder why they wanted it in the first place. Okay. So.
Anthony and Sally.
Okay. Anthony first.
So just 2 quick things. How are we going to do like rejection letters essentially?
Well, we're not to there. We haven't hired anybody yet.
Right, but for like the other 38 that we're not interviewing? Do we want to send something out, or do we want to wait until we hire somebody to do that?
Richard.
I guess I don't like the word rejection. I guess I'd be more inclined to tell them how much we appreciate them applying for the job, and they just did not make the criteria or the cut, and nothing necessarily against them. It's just that's not what we decided.
Yeah, we
And they
can
may
call
be
it
listening right now.
notifications.
I think that would be the executive director's job when he got hired. Her, he, whoever it is.
Yeah,
We'll
that would make
find out
sense.
if we made the right pick. Okay. What else? Who else did I see have a hand up? Sally.
Hi, commissioners. I should have mentioned this earlier in the kind of administrative part of things, but just to kind of talk through what it might look like in the next meeting when there are these interviews. What we can do from the Department of State side is I can ask our HR department, work with them to come up with a list of interview questions, a draft for you all to review at the beginning of that meeting. So you can decide what questions you want to ask to all applicants so that it's fair. That's something that we do at the Department of State for our interviews, our HR process does. So we'd be happy to do that, provide a draft in advance so you all can review it. Agree on, add any questions, edit any questions, and then actually do the interviews maybe a half hour into the meeting or something like that. And we can stagger them that way. But I just wanted to offer that and see if you'd like to do that.
I think that would be an excellent idea. We get those, the sooner the better, obviously. And if you have, as MC has already suggested, if you have specific questions that you want to ask the interviewee, maybe based on their application or whatever, you certainly can have those, and we'll take a look at them before we start the interviews. I think that's a good idea. We don't want to pitch a bunch of softballs to one candidate and then do the fastballs to somebody else. So, what else? Anything else on the ED position, Anthony?
So just for a point of reference, there were two candidates who I think we said might be better suited for the general counsel position. And I think that was James Lancaster and I have to double check, but I believe it was Andrew Klein. I do not, let me make sure real quick about that. Sorry, you can come back to me. I'm a little mixed up here.
Okay. Sally, I have a question for you. Are these interviews going to be public?
Yes, it's Mike Brady.
Thank you, Sally. What if the interviewee doesn't want to be a public interview? Mike.
So this is Mike Brady again. The interview has to happen in public session. There's an exception in the Open Meetings Act that allows someone who's applied for a position that they can ask in writing the commission to consider their application in closed session. That's something that we had discussed previously. This commission declined to even present that as an option to applicants. And so obviously what happened this morning and, what continued, and I should say earlier in this meeting, was a consideration in open session of the applications. Under any circumstance, however, the next step in hiring for a public body, which is to say the interview, has to be done in open session. So if they want to do that, then they might need to consider withdrawing their application and consider a different potential employer.
Different career path? Okay, that answers that question in case it ever comes up. Code of conduct. Any other questions around the ED position? Or are we pretty well set on how that's going to work? Okay, code of conduct. Rhonda.
Okay, I watched you guys the live stream because I was not here when you discussed the code of conduct last time. And since we've had a little bit of downtime, I've been doing some more research per se. So I just want to put this by you guys real quick. I know the one for concern was letter C. Mike had discussed how there could be a loophole about how commissioner, you know, are they always on or are they not always on, and how there could be a loophole there. When I did the applications or looked at the resumes for the ED, I started going through our constitution too. And in our code of conduct, in my opinion, I think code of conduct is how we present ourselves as members of the commission, as far as integrity, honesty, when we're in open meetings, when we're having meetings with each other, you know, we don't curse and swear at each other. We present ourselves in a professional way. My question is, and maybe Mike's the one to answer this, going through the Michigan definition of what lobbying is considered by Michigan definition is communicating directly with an official in the executive branch of state government or an official in the legislative branch of state government for the purpose of influencing legislative or administrative action. My question is, Section 3 of our Michigan Constitution states the people have the right peaceably to assemble, to consult for the common good, to instruct their representatives, and to petition the government for redress of grievances. So if I'm reading, and I'm not a constitutional professional here, I'm reading it as, even though we're a member of the commission, we have a constitutional right. If there is a grievance that we have with whether it be a law or a bill that's going to be passed, we have the right under the Constitution to contact our representatives and say that. So what I'm asking is, does C go against our Constitution, since we're also in this code of conduct stating that we will abide by the Michigan and our national Constitution, our United States Constitution, and our Michigan Constitution? Would this represent a conflict of interest as far as constitutional wise goes? And if it does, then I would move that we remove C altogether and just maintain the code of conduct as how we present ourselves. So Mike, please help me understand.
So as always, I certainly appreciate the thoughtful analysis and question, Rhonda. So this is Mike Brady, Chief Legal Director at the Michigan Department of State. So I'm not sure that it's necessarily in conflict with the other piece of the Constitution. There certainly is a right to assemble and to lobby your elected officials. That's a right you have under the federal Constitution and under the state Constitution. I'm not frankly really sure exactly where the earlier draft of that language had come from. I think in the prior meeting, there's some discussion of California's language and whatever else. And so that is what it is. On the topic of lobbying, I would just reiterate something that I believe I mentioned at the last meeting, which is that I think it's actually very important for this commission and each of you as commissioners to be able to contact and frankly lobby the legislature and for this matter the governor. If there's an appropriation that obviously has to be adopted by the legislature, but it also per the Constitution has to be signed by the governor. And so that's a natural part of the process, including the appropriation process. And I think it's important for you all to make sure that you don't tie your hands unnecessarily and limit your ability to lobby the legislature and the governor to get the resources that you will need to carry out the work that the people of Michigan have charged you with. So that's my thought on lobbying. I think there's, as I've had experience with other codes of conduct, not necessarily for commissions, not California's commission, but otherwise, I think there's, could be something else to be said for whether you all, frankly, more as a voluntary matter, want to set some expectation, perhaps, your expectations collectively for how you think work is to be done. There's a potential difference in my mind between the core work of this commission and your ability to do what you need to do, which includes very likely the ability to lobby the legislature for the resources that you and the governor for the resources that you need to carry out your work, versus could very likely be that there's some other, give it a few months, give it a year, whatever it is. There's always, some kind of hot topic that is, could be partisan, could be very political. It's kind of the nature of living in the world, certainly living in democracy. And so somebody, there could be a topic, someone could ask one of you, and then it could very well be, here comes John Smith, commissioner on the Michigan Citizen Redistricting Commission, who's now formally endorsing, and I'm obviously making this up, but some future like Prop X, Prop Y, Prop Z, some proposal on something or other that has nothing to do with the core work of this commission. In a certain respect, that person, is a citizen in this state. That person is a citizen in this country. They have the right to do it. This code of conduct, I don't see as being, this code of conduct, or frankly, other codes of conduct for commissions or boards, I don't see that. Doesn't have the weight of law behind it. It certainly doesn't trump the Constitution. If anything, I see it as being perhaps a collective statement of you all as commissioners on your expectations for yourselves and for each other in this time that you are in this kind of service. And so that's, I think, an important distinction. This is not anything you were to adopt, doesn't have the ability to trump, of course, the Constitution or state law, and certainly not federal law or the federal Constitution. But you can still say, like, we think, these are our collective values. This is what we want to remain focused on our core work. We want to limit the distractions and some of the noise perhaps that can come from over political activity on other topics. I don't know if that's helpful to the larger conversation.
Rhonda?
It is a little bit. I know the initial reading of it came from California, and I don't know what's in California's constitution, obviously. So my concern was, even when I was in the military, we had a military code of conduct. You presented yourself, you maintained your military bearing at all times when you're wearing the uniform, things that you do if you're caught by the enemy, let's say. So I'm just thinking, I'm kind of looking at the same things as far as, are we going too in depth with the code of conduct? I think a code of should be how you act personally, how we act towards others, how we interact with the public, which a lot of those things are included already in here. And without getting into gray water and everything, and I mean, I'm the one that rewrote C to begin with. So like I said, I had a lot of downtime to re-look at it, reread it, read our Constitution. And I just think that there's just too much extra in it. And to be, quite honest, I'll use me as a personal example. If some legislature, if they were working on a bill to run a pipeline right underneath my creek out back, I would probably contact my legislator and say, no, I don't want you to do that because that could affect my property. So, when I read this, I think that I don't know. I'm trying to express how I'm feeling. I just think as far as the code of conduct goes, I think it should be more so how we act. I mean, obviously, if somebody came up to me as a commissioner, and Mike, the last meeting I heard, how do you represent as far as, are you a commissioner all the time, or is it just a commissioner and then you go on Facebook when you're not in a meeting? I consider us all to be commissioners until the end of this commission, until all the legal work is done. So that's what I meant in this initial C. But I'm wondering, are we getting too into it? I mean, we're Michigan, it came as a recommendation from the California's code of conduct, but we're Michigan, we're not California, we are Michigan. I don't know what is in. I do know that they also said lobbying per United States definition. So I would be inclined to remove C altogether. I think we have enough common sense to know I'm not going to go to a television station and say, hey, I think this bill is ridiculous and I don't support it. And my name is Commissioner Rhonda Lang with the Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. I just think we're looking too much into it. I mean, we have on here that we will abide by Michigan Constitution, the Commission Code of Conduct, the US Constitution. So I just think that maybe it went a little overboard, and I would recommend removing C, but I am good with whatever the whole commission as a whole feels.
I see what you're saying, Rhonda, but I do think, just thinking of my experience, for policy reasons, some things need to be written just as a formality. But those are my thoughts. I know, Mike, I saw you had 2 fingers up, so I didn't know if you had some thoughts while Rhonda was speaking.
Thank you, Brittany. Rhonda, I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense to me. And just thinking as a practical matter, having had the experience, something happens, in my community, I want to contact my state legislator. I can call my state legislator. I can reach out to them. And when I reach out to them, much as you were just suggesting, what I'd be writing would be something like, sign Mike Brady, at this address in my city. And what I'm not doing is I'm not throwing around my title for my professional work. Though whether or not I'm allowed to do that, I think that actually parallels with what I believe the rules to be, but you certainly would know this from your service in the military, where I think, there's kind of a longstanding pattern between really exactly, I think, what you just described, where if something happened in your community, not only do you want to, you feel like you're obliged to. You're engaged. That's an important part of how our democracy functions. So you want to maintain your ability to speak up about something that's going to have an impact on you, your property, your family, your community. At the same time, you also said that you don't think it'd be appropriate to go out, and then, have yourself on a TV spot where it's not about, Rhonda Lang. It's about, I think what you said was, you wouldn't stand up and say like, I'm Commissioner Rhonda Lang with the ICRC and I approve this message, or I vote against this, or I vote in favor of that candidate, or something like that. So it seems like that's the kind of thing that I've seen before. And I'm not here to advocate for or against, but just to say the language that you have concern about in the lobbying language, I share your concern 100%. Though the Constitution gives you the right to seek additional resources from the legislature, though the Constitution even gives you the right, that is to say, this commission, the standing to file a lawsuit for additional resources, as a practical matter, you're not going to want to file. I mean, nobody wants to file a lawsuit if they can avoid it. As a practical matter, what that means in terms of seeking additional resources, like, let's call it what it is. It's lobbying. It's not a dirty word. It's right in the Constitution. It's in the federal Constitution. It's in the state Constitution. You have the right to do that. I don't advise you. I'm not your lawyer, as I've made clear at every one of our meetings. But just as someone involved in supporting the process, I completely echo your concerns about that lobbying language and how it may tie your hands for what you need to do. You need to be able to, frankly, lobby both the legislature and the governor to get the resources so you can do this job and do it well for the people of Michigan. That said, there are other things like about kind of other comments. So I think in my mind, there's a difference here. And that's entirely for this commission to decide what they want to do on these particular points.
I heard what Rhonda's concern is, and it certainly is a concern that you're correct. You certainly have the right of free speech, the right to quote, lobby your representatives for whatever issue it is. But you have also said, and I think it's very pertinent, is that perception is everything here. And I would suggest that for a year, let's keep the perception that we're not favoring one side or the other because of some position that we take on line 5 or whatever. But like Mike says, I'll abide by whatever the group decides. So I don't see that the language is inappropriate. I think it gives us a way to conduct ourselves that certainly will not be perceived that we are going out and lobby on anything but what's here. Now, when I say, if you're talking about, some position that comes out, and remember, California rules their state by propositions. They have a few hundred every election. So we don't typically, though maybe we'll get there. I would think that we would not want to, put our names on a billboard saying we support X, Y, or Z. That's different than writing your local rep and saying, hey, my position on this is whatever. But I certainly don't disagree with this that you've written.
Right. And that's kind of what I'm getting to. It's not like a public thing, but with how I wrote it, that's what I'm getting at. It's saying that, well, maybe not. I don't know. It just seems like there's a little bit much in it, and I don't want anybody's constitutional rights. I don't want it to be misconstrued, because obviously this wouldn't hold up. If somebody did contact their representative, you can't make a law that goes against the Constitution, what have you. So I just wasn't sure the wording of mine. I listened in on the last meeting because I wasn't here, and I did hear them say that there's a potential loophole there. And so that's why I revisited it. But like I said, I'm good with whatever the commission decides as a whole. We're a team, we're a group, and I'm good with that. I just wanted to voice that, my opinion on what my definition of code of conduct kind of is. And I guess your last meeting, C was the big one. C was the big thing with the whole thing that people weren't sure on. So I just wanted to cast light, once I thought on it a little more and did a little more reading, what my opinion was on it. But as I said, we're a group, so I'm good with whatever the group says.
Sally has put herself on the screen, going to tell me that we're running out of time.
That was part of what I was going to say. Yeah. So one thing is that we've got 15 minutes left, everybody. So just a time check. But the other thing I just wanted to mention for the purpose of clarity for everybody here and also the public. So the code of conduct version that was circulated to everyone and that's on our website has suggested edits from Mike on that letter C to avoid what he was talking about in terms of you all being able to do the work that you need to do as commissioners. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. It doesn't necessarily change the conversation that's happening, but wanted to make sure that was clear.
Okay, we had tabled this as an agenda item and we didn't move formally to remove it from the table, but obviously we have, so that's been taken care of. Are we ready to vote on this? Okay, I would entertain a motion. Whoever wants to make whatever motion on the code of conduct. Anybody? Nobody wants to make a motion. It's going to die.
I'll make the motion that we approve the suggested changes to the code of conduct as written.
Okay. Second?
Seconded.
Juanita seconded. Any further discussion?
That was Aaron.
Aaron Wagner seconded.
It was Aaron, yeah.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Rhonda?
Nay.
2 nays and the rest ayes. Passes. Okay. We have 3 drafts that we don't have enough time to go through. Hopefully you've read them. Who prepared these?
This is Doug. I prepared those. There was one other item in the old business that we added at the beginning of the meeting.
You're right.
Yeah.
Commissioner's responsibility chart. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me this is an administrative task. It'll take me about 30 seconds. I just want to tell you some of the updates I'm going to make. I'm going to add Rebecca's name. On the executive director committee, I'm assuming, Anthony, you're the chair of that rather than the acting chair?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then I apologize to MC that I missed the thank you note responsibility that he had accepted. I'll add that too. And I'll get that mailed out, an updated copy mailed out.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Doug.
Yep.
Back to you on the drafts of your, the 3 drafts.
Yeah.
In the 1, 2, 3 third full paragraph right above scope, you have enact similar measures, tout, T-O-U-T. Now,
where are we talking about? I'm sorry, I missed what you said, Steve.
Okay, on your drafts, in the 3rd full paragraph, right above the scope paragraph,
yeah,
you have the word tout, T-O-U-T. Now, that would be somebody you would meet at a racetrack that is trying to give you the skinny on who's going to win the race.
Okay, I'll go back to
To
this.
say.
Yeah, okay. I apologize
Looks like
for
you
that.
meant to put.
Yeah, probably so.
That was the only thing. I wanted to get that straight.
Okay, let me tell you why I put the RFP drafts together. I went back and looked through the notes from when we had the speakers at the beginning in September and so forth. There's a number of things that they talked about and resources that we needed. So I put drafts together based on that. One was on redistricting, mapping assistance and expertise. One was on outreach consulting, and one was on community of interest, polarized voting analyst assistance and expertise. Those are the 3 things that were discussed. The community of interest, polarized voting analyst was really labeled as a racial polarized voting analyst. I changed the name of it because to me it dealt with economics and it dealt with religion and so forth. So I put these together for your review, not to really discuss today, but for you to take a look at them and maybe we discuss them in a future meeting. This is for an RFP. RFPs are different than the jobs that we posted. The jobs that were posted basically say, we want a person to do this, this, and this, and we're going to pay them this much money. This, we're going out to the field and saying, this is what we want. This is the need we have. Come back with a proposal and tell us how you would accomplish it and how much you would charge us. Okay, so there's the difference between it. So I drafted it up for these 3 items, and I'd like you to take a look at them until we meet the next time, or next time we can get it on the agenda. And then we could discuss whether we really want to pursue going this direction or not. If we do, we have to get a purchasing agent involved. This is a small piece of what's part of an RFP. Most of its terms and conditions out of the purchasing department. But I put those together in anticipation that that's one of the items that we're going to need as we go forward. I had a lot of time on my hands the last 2 weeks as well. So I don't think there's really any discussion needed today, but I think in the future we would take a look at each one.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate that.
Yeah. The other item I had was I feel that we have a need within the commission to have like a chief operating officer, somebody that will, an individual that would develop a project plan for the commission, identify the tasks that we need to have accomplished, document those tasks in the project plan, monitor them as we go forward and are on schedule. What I'm really thinking is this individual now would only put that together, but coordinate with the executive director on operational things, not decisions, but operational items. Coordinate with maybe the speakers that we had back in September and October to make sure we were right on track. in other words, put together a roadmap of where we're going from now until November 1st of next year. What's all the tasks that we got to do and accomplish? What we've been doing in my mind is we've done a lot of really good work, I think. But we piecemeal it a little here, a little there as we go along, and we don't see the big picture of all the things that we've got to do. And the lead time we're going to need to do some of these things. For example, the lead time on the RFPs. One of the reasons I think that's important is there's 49 other states that are going to be going after these types of people, this expertise, and there's not that much of that expertise. So I think it's well to our benefit to do stuff like that ahead of time, but we need to understand what it is. We need to get that roadmap put together. So I wanted to bring that up for discussion and get people's point of view on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't let us forget that. We're at the end of our day.
Yeah, I know we are. Yep. Yeah, I probably don't have enough time to discuss it. Probably something. I wanted to get the idea to you, and maybe we'll just get it on a future agenda as well.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're out of time, and I think it's going to take a little discussion.
All right. I think we're at the end of the day, and I do have a couple of just informational things that I look at because, like Doug, I had too much time on my hands. But there are a couple of things that are coming up across the nation that very well may affect us. In Missouri, they passed a constitutional amendment that the total number of people in an area versus one person, one vote would be the criteria for redistricting. Now, that may sound like a distinction without a difference, but the powers to be in the state of Missouri are basically saying that only the eligible voters in an area are who would count as the population. Historically, the population has been everybody that's there. Adults, voters, non-voters, kids, you name them, you count them. So that's one. It's out there. New York has a new redistricting commission that they have, and they pick 10 members. The Assembly Speaker picks 2, the Senate Majority Speaker picks 2, the Representative Majority Speaker picks 2, and the Representative Minority Speaker picks 2, and those 4 people pick 2. So they have 10. So we'll see how they do compared to us. I know we'll do a lot better. The other big one is the census. If you keep up with this, which we obviously are going to, the current administration has argued vociferously that only legal citizens can be counted in the census. Obviously, that didn't fly. That was there's no citizenship question on the census forms, but they are still pushing that only legal citizens will be reported in the census. We don't know where that's going yet. Certainly it will be challenged, and the new administration might very well cancel that requirement anyway. But those are some from the legal end that we will be keeping track of because they're going to affect us. With that, anybody else have anything for the good of the group? We got very short time.
Yeah, I've got one question. Sally had mailed out to us some comments that had come in by mail.
Yes.
And some of those, I'll give one example. Wayne State was asking that Anthony come and speak with them and that sort of thing. I think there were about, I don't know, 4 or 5 of these types of things. Can we address those real quick? Do we have time to do that?
I don't know. We got 4 minutes, and I don't know how we're going to do that.
Okay. Well,
I know one of them. Somebody wants to do a study with us. So that's
that's a professor out of Oakland University. Yeah.
Yeah.
MC.
just so you know, I'm trying to send an email about that. So for what it's worth, just in order to, I'm going to try to help do this over email. I couldn't get it to go, but I'm trying to do this offline with you all together. So I am trying to do something about that though, too.
I mean, I think that's good that we should talk about it, but we just don't have time.
Okay.
Sally's popped up, so she has something she wants to say.
I might just propose that at the beginning of the agenda, before you all interview people, we can administratively look at the timing, set aside some time for you to talk about any correspondence, and then also set aside some time for you to review the questions. And then again, probably not at the next meeting, but maybe at the meeting after that, revisit the points that Doug made in terms of RFP and Chief Operating Officer, if that all sounds good to you.
Sure.
That sounds good.
The other thing we got came through was a little blurb on being interviewed. I don't know who's been interviewed. I've been interviewed 3 times. It's good to read. It's good to consider if somebody's going to come and talk with you or want you to give a statement. Take a look at that so that you'll be more comfortable with what you're going to do. Okay. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Rebecca,
I move to adjourn.
second somebody?
I second it.
Okay. And all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, stay here. See everybody on the 19th at 9 o'clock. We're going to come in early, Sally?
Yes,
What, 15 minutes, half hour, what?
15 minutes, please.
Okay. 8:45, Thursday, November 19th. Everybody have a good rest of the week.
Yep. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Bye.
You as well. Thank you.
Hi, everyone.